Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Good.
Good.
So we're just waiting for Ed, it looks like.
Ed.
Yes.
Yeah. I've not heard from him, so we'll give him a moment.
He'll be here.
Mhm.
Nancy,
Yeah.
I'll recuse myself when it comes to the point when the library, any discussion of the library comes up.
Of course.
So I will just disappear.
I'll miss you, Jim.
Thank you, Sandy.
Why don't we give Ed another minute or so before we start? It's just, I've just got, oh, there he is now.
Right on time.
Hey, Ed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
We can't.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Ed. Hello, all.
Hello, all.
I think we have a quorum now.
Good.
So it is
2, 3, 4, 5.
6:01 and we have a quorum. So we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty.
liberty,
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
It's going to sound a lot better when we're doing it in person.
I heard so.
Yeah. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any additions to the agenda?
Just the correspondence that we received.
Yes, I have it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rupert. And we'll take that up as we go through the selectmen's budget. Okay, so there are no changes to the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Approval of the minutes of February 17th. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ed.
Mhm.
Thanks, Jim. Any other comments regarding those minutes? Okay, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that one's unanimous too. So we got some very sad correspondence late this afternoon from our clerk. It reads, "Dear Board of Finance, I wish to inform you that I will be leaving my employment with the town of Kent, including the Board of Finance clerk position, effective April 2nd, 2021. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as board clerk and have enjoyed working with the board. Sincerely, Leslie Ferris." I would like to say that we have worked for many, many years on this board together, and I'm going to miss you terribly.
Thank you.
But I'm glad that you've got some good stuff in front of you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Leslie, for making my transition onto the board easier than I thought it was going to be.
Thank you, Leslie, for all you've done.
You're a multi-talented lady, Leslie. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran.
See, nobody's going to do it, Les.
What? I'll make the motion.
I guess what do we have to motion? Acceptance of
Yeah.
the, yeah, so I make the motion to accept the resignation. Is that the right? Yeah,
Mhm.
resignation of
With
Leslie.
with regret.
With regret.
Friendly amendment.
And with sorrow, I second.
Yep. So all in favor?
Aye.
With much regret.
Yeah. Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Well, we're going to miss you.
Thank you. I'll be around here and there.
Okay. Oh, so you're not leaving the northwest corner.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about that on a Zoom meeting, but
Okay. Okay.
thank you, everybody.
All right. So we're on to reports, and I see Deb is on. So Deb, would you like to talk to us about taxes?
Actually, I don't have a report tonight. I know you have a full agenda and basically nothing has changed from last month. I mean, nothing reportable has changed. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Very good. How about, the Board of Education? Do we have anybody here from the Board of Ed?
I don't think so.
Nope. Okay, that's next week. Okay, and Board of Selectmen, Jean?
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jane.
So I'll be brief. Regarding COVID, our numbers are our 2-week rolling average is looking better. We don't actually get a specific list from Torrington Area Health Department anymore. We're far into this and moving on to the vaccine piece. So they no longer are providing that specific list. We did have a little pop in the last report a week and a half-ish ago. And while I'm not 100% sure, because again, we can't see any addresses, it seems like it was a small cluster at one of the private schools, which has been sort of the trend. So we're continuing to be super vigilant. The town hall remains closed to access for the public, continuing to seamlessly provide services. Everybody has been pretty amazing at sort of flexing and shifting and bobbing through this whole thing. It's been a year officially, and it's, we're sort of settled into this routine, but I know everybody's anxious to get on the other end of it. Everybody has heard by now that the governor is accelerating to that April 5th date for anyone over the age of 16 to get vaccinated. My message that I keep just giving out to people is be patient, keep trying, keep refreshing your browser. Eventually you will get that appointment that you need to get if you want it. So just sort of keep moving forward as far as that's concerned. Transfer station, we're going to be making have an interview tomorrow for the manager position. Hopefully that'll be wrapping up the following week. The assessor position, the posting closed last Friday. So we're gonna, we have a small group that's going to be doing the interviews for that position. That will wrap up hopefully fairly quickly. We have a at least one transfer station attendant that's posted probably Friday. I'll take a look at some of those. I think we have about 10 or 15 applications on Indeed. So we'll be flowing through those to get the attendance filled and move the road guys off, because that is causing overtime hours to be incurred. The streetscape is continuing to forge ahead, which is super exciting. We've been, myself, Barbara, and Rick have met a couple of times with the folks for the TAP grant. So there's a number of grants. Obviously, everybody knows this, but there's a number of grants, 3 different grants that we've been awarded over the years. The TAP grant is the biggest and most recent one. They actually have a really great team that is sort of acting as a concierge service for us, which is huge. So we meet with them every week, and we're moving ahead. They have very prescriptive deliverables. It's very, there's a lot of rules that we have to follow it because of that, that funding stream. So, and they're great support, these 2 gentlemen. We're just continuing to push ahead with that. Cell tower, there's no update. It was approved back in December. There's a citizen action group that's healing it. I have anything recently about that. Those are sort of points. I know there's a lot of other you guys have agenda, so I don't want to anybody up. If any questions, by all means, happy to answer.
Do you anticipate open town hall?
We're waiting to hear back from a couple of key questions, but I hope we're able to come up with a in the next, say, week to get us to a place where doors are unlocked and come in. It's going to be different. It's like people will need to come in through one entrance, and we may be doing some business back at the big meeting room, but a couple of more key questions we need answered by the governor's team. Hopefully be able to get that by the end of the week. But very anxious to get there.
Isn't everyone?
Yeah.
Anyone have any other questions for Jean at this point? Okay, well, we'll wait until we get to the budget. I'm sure we'll have some more for you. Barbara, are you here? No, I don't see you.
She's just done a report.
Oh, she's in the other room. Let me just go
Thanks.
take a peek.
Thanks. Yeah, she sent it at 5:03. So I had a chance to take a peek at it, but I didn't even know I'd received it until I arrived back in Kent. So it wasn't with a lot of lead time to really look. But there was nothing terribly different from what we've seen. But I'm sure she's got some things she'd like to share. In the meantime, I'm going to jump to one of the business items because I think it will be dispatched with very quickly. Under business, item B, we've got the 2022 capital plan on there. Does anyone have anything that they wanted to add regarding the capital plan?
I mean, it hasn't changed months at all since we last discussed it.
Yeah, no, it hasn't, Rufus.
No, so I think we discussed it pretty thoroughly the last time through. I don't have any additions or
She
questions.
is on her way. She was having some technical difficulties.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, so I'll keep it on there because we may need to have discussion with it, but I doubt it the way things have been trending. As far as the budget calendar is concerned, that tentative meeting that we have scheduled at the very beginning of April is looking less and less necessary. So we can make a final determination next week when we meet.
Okay.
All right.
And next week is where Board of Ed is joining us, correct?
Yes, that's when they'll be presenting to us and we'll be able to ask questions and such. And we
Right.
did get some information on the education budget. So I think that was forwarded to everyone to start having a good look at it. So looks like we're running out of items. I will say while we're waiting for Barbara to come that we're going to have to post for the clerk position, unfortunately, to have to replace Leslie. And so we'll figure out what the protocol is on that during COVID times. Jean, that would be posted through the town's website, right?
Yes.
So I just sent you a job description to post.
Yeah, we might have one.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah. I'll have to check with, there it is. Got it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I can forward that to you if you wanted to take
Please.
a look at it or go over it at your meeting next week, however you would like to.
Yeah. We'll add it to next week's agenda. Yep.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Oh, there's Barbara. Hi.
Hey,
So a little technical difficulty, huh?
yeah, like the clock, I didn't know that the meeting was at 6 and not 7. I don't know if that counts, but
I think that counts. It's COVID brain time. That's we're all
Daylight
existing in
saving.
an existence where time is somewhat meaningless.
It's all Blur's day.
Yeah.
And it just changed too, so that confuses everyone too as to what clock they're looking at. So, would you like to give us a report?
okay, I did email the written report to everybody, but I only emailed it about an hour ago. Did you
Yes.
want me to screen share it or no?
Why don't you just do a screen share and a brief overview?
Okay. So there it is on my screen. Is it big enough? Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm having more meetings now because of the streetscape, the TAP grant, and now FEMA. I have another FEMA meeting this Friday, and that's for the summer storm Isaias, if I'm saying that properly. We can recoup some expenses associated with that. And the really exciting news is they're allowing us to take our department highway people's straight time for the time that they worked on this, which is unusual. Usually it's only overtime and equipment.
Mhm.
So I have another meeting with whoever was assigned to us on Friday, and that's called an exploratory call. And then I'll be able to submit for reimbursement. And we get 75% of whatever qualifies. So
Great.
not sure exactly what dollar amount that'll be yet, but it will be something.
Yeah, FEMA has been, they've not been quick to hand out the money.
Yeah, well, I think that they want to fast track this storm because they made all of us submit to them over the summer, back probably early September, what we thought our estimated costs were going to be. And then they used that to get the federal declaration. So I'm thinking they're trying to fast track at least this disaster. I did send out an email to all the department heads today asking for input on what they think their unexpended balance is going to be in their department. The budget document you received, I estimated that based on trends and historical information, but I know that the departments prefer to give their input, so I will be updating the budget document with that. Also on the budget, well, I guess back to this thing I'm screen sharing, same information in the middle, activity that my office processed for the 2-month period, January versus February. We did enter into a fiscal sponsorship with the Northwest Corner Prevention Network. And basically that is to allow their task force, which is, Jean, what's the name of the task force you're on? Prevention, no.
The
Something.
Northwest Prevention Network.
Oh, well, to allow them to fulfill their mission and accept grant funds, because they're not really an entity, they're just sort of a commission of different people from our Northwest corner towns. There is some activity ramping up for me as far as all these different grants are going. The streetscape grants.
It's the peanut butter.
Yeah, have a lot of reporting to do. So there's quarterly, semi-annual reports. So I'm going to be starting to do a lot of that. The middle part or the bottom part here is just the actual versus budget to date. This far right column are the 2 increases to the budget that were approved at the town meeting in January. And the bottom part of the report is some highlights about revenues and expenses. So I don't think I really need to read them all, but I will say that the American Rescue Plan that was just passed is going to funnel quite a bit of revenue into Kent. It's very specific as to how it can be spent. They've already released those guidelines. We already have them. So we'll be updating you as to how that money gets spent, but that isn't anything that we can use to reduce the budget or offset a budgeted expense anywhere. It's just not that kind of a revenue stream. And then an update on the litigation cost to date, it's $41,000 over budget. But again, I don't want to do a budget transfer yet because there's going to be probably a little bit more that comes in between now and the end of the year. I know land use is looking at a potential of a couple more lawsuits, or at least one that I've heard about. So there may be more cost to that line, and it's easier to do one budget transfer. It's going to need a town meeting anyway because of the size, but I don't want to have to do 2 town meetings, because if we do one budget transfer and need another one, that would automatically be another town meeting on that. As you could see with the budget document, I tried to add some information to it that normally isn't there by the use of those little green arrows. And if you downloaded the document, you could place your cursor on the arrow and get some information. So 2 things. I would like to know what your feedback is on the usability of it and the worthiness of it, whether it's worthwhile information for you to have, if there's different information you would like to see. And I realized that when you print the document out, all that information now is not accessible, because it's only accessible if you're looking at it in the environment of being on the computer. So my theory or my process to address that would be to change the budget document, remove the far left column that's the actuals from 2 years ago, push everything over to the left, and then I would have a column on the right for printed notes and additional information if you think that's usable. I also got another comment about the budget document that they felt that the green line, when you're looking at it in the computer environment, it's colored, and that the green line draws your eye to that, and that is the current year's budget. And this particular person felt that it would be more useful to have the far right column, which is the proposed budget, be colored or highlighted in such a way that it would draw your eye there. So that's another change I can certainly make if your board feels that that would be useful as well.
I mean, for me personally, because I don't even own a printer, so I view everything on my computer. I actually liked the digital notes because I also like to see the history of budgetary changes for, I'm used to looking at 3-year fiscal year
Okay,
budgets. So, but that's
Okay.
just my personal, I don't have an opinion either way on the green.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty clear that that was this year's versus proposed, but that was just me.
yeah.
I
Anyone-
did appreciate the extra notes though, because there was a couple things I was like, "Well, wait, what is that?" And then, like the internet jump for fiber.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
thank you for putting the work in to do that. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
One of the really exciting things is that extra money that was put in for fiber optic, we may be able to take that out and use this grant money from this American Rescue Plan to cover that.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, there's also USDA money too that theoretically we may be able to, because we qualify as a rural town. For
Yeah,
fiber.
USDA is a big process, and I think we're a little swamped with grants right now, but we'll certainly take it under advisement.
Yeah. Maybe when it's time to string fiber throughout the whole town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still don't have an assistant, right, Barbara?
Well, I'm still utilizing my prior assistant who is working remotely, but the tasks that she can complete remotely are very limited. I did hire someone to come physically into the office to work. She doesn't have the skill set that is necessary to do the entire job. So between the two of them, I'm using them to do the whole job. Unfortunately for me, the new gal who's been coming into the office is now out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. She had to have an operation. So I'm sort of back to where I was a month ago, but it'll be okay. It'll work out eventually, and eventually we'll get the town hall open and people will be vaccinated and we'll go from there.
Yeah, the notes were very good, Barbara. I thought that the fact that you could click on them to get the information. However, we do have a chunk of the population that is not as savvy. Is there a way to print the notes out someplace else, either on the same sheet if we don't want to get rid of a column? I think 2 years of prior actuals are, it's a trend, but 3 is nicer to have. Can we put it on the back of the sheet or something?
Well,
You better-
I could do it the way that the Board of Ed does it, although I think that makes it harder to read because then your eye is going up and down and up and down, trying to follow the line and go up to the comment, up and down.
Yes,
There does seem, I did print out the budget document, and there does seem to be a small strip on the far right that I could put some comments in. I could try it and see how that works.
okay,
I
I'm just
know.
trying to accommodate the total population because some people don't
Right.
do well trying to read things.
Right,
like-
right. Yeah. But I think once I did it, I don't think I can do it both ways in the same document.
That's too bad.
It's one or the other. I think, unless I did it just as a PDF and added word text over to the side, but then if I had to update a comment, I would have to make sure I updated both comments and I'm not sure I have all that wherewithal. I mean, I do, but it's just really cumbersome.
Yes, very nitty. So there's no way to print out those comments.
There is, I can make them so that they're visible. And so what would happen is you wouldn't have to hover over the green arrow. There would be a little line that would actually go from the cell over to the comment. So you would be able to tell which comment was for which cell. I can do that. I don't know, on this one particular page I'm looking at, which is page 1, there's 4 comments.
Right.
And my guess is going to be that between the 4 comments, it's going to take up most of the space on the right side. So I think if there was 7 or 8 comments on a page, it would really be jumbled,
It'd be
like
very-
on page 4. But I don't know. I have to try it. I'll try it.
Yeah, see what you think.
Yeah.
And Barbara, there are a couple of new-ish little sneaky features in Adobe Acrobat Pro that we might be able to accomplish what the board is looking for.
You mean have both hover and printed?
Yeah.
So that when you're looking at it online, the printed isn't there?
Correct,
And just the hover is, and then when you print it out, the printed prints.
correct.
Oh, well, that'll be grand.
No promises, but I think there's a
I'm
way.
holding you
I
to
mean,
it,
I
that's
just-
it.
I just appreciate that we have notes, period. So if it's, either way is fine. I think it really was pretty useful for me to look through, to see all those notes. So I just, again, thank you for putting the time to do that.
I will point out that the document that I sent to you had one note that was incorrect as far as the timeline goes. I put that it was approved at the January town meeting 2020, and someone caught that, and so I updated that. You don't have the updated version yet.
Sure.
And also in the land use department, the original request, there was additional money in there for laptops or Apple iPads or something that didn't get awarded at this point. So the land use office asked me to add additional comments so that that information is in there, which I'd sort of forgotten about and didn't include it, but I will be adding more comments as I go along.
Great. Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Barbara, can I ask a question?
You sure can.
I don't look at the little pictures, the little numbers and comments. I look at the big picture. Am I correct in assuming that the Board of Ed budget and the town budget is going to show unexpended funds of somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 for each budget for this year?
That's what I have projected at this point. And just to reiterate what I said earlier, I've now asked all of the departments for their input to see how far off my numbers are. And if my numbers are fine, I'll leave them alone. But I want to make sure that the
Well,
department.
if anything, your numbers are going to be
Look,
better as the year goes on.
Right,
Because there's, as I joke about it every year, there's just so much toilet paper you can stuff in
That's
a
right.
closet.
that's right.
And the surplus numbers, not surplus, that's a dirty word. The unexpended funds are gonna be bigger than I've seen in
Right.
50 years in this town.
Right. And I
Having
did,
said that, I don't want to discourage those people who are in this for only the last year or two from dealing with it. But I've got to tell you that the financial picture, with all my positive comments over the past few years, is going to be even better than I ever expected. Now, a lot of it is because the buildings are closed and there are definite savings. When I look at the school budget, no field trips, no buses for sports. I mean, there's substantial savings. Anyway, having said that, I just don't worry about the little things, and it's good that Rufus does. And I just wanted to check to make sure I was on the same wavelength. Excuse me.
I also want to share that I did get an email from Sam Herrick, Region 1 Business Manager, I think it was yesterday, telling me what the unexpended funds are that they're giving back to the town from the prior year. So Kent is getting back $35,688
Great.
from a prior year. So that's another bit of money that goes into the overall pot.
Okay. That's lovely news. All right. Anything else, Barbara?
Nope.
Okay, why don't we move on to the Board of Selectmen's budget?
Fantastic. Thanks, Nancy. So first I want to say, in my best light brogue I can do, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And I see Sarah's in green and I know Barbara's in green, even though you're a little shadowed. And that spoke to me directly. You have green on too, Nancy?
Of course, no day.
That's right. Before I get into sort of going through the budget, I wanted to give a shout out to Barbara Herbst, the town treasurer. She and I have spent many late evenings, sometimes getting her into a little hot water at home, all for this sort of final product that we're handing off to you. She does not get paid hourly, as you know. She's a salaried employee, and so we don't pay her for her hours here. She really has gone above and beyond, not only in the preparation and sort of being open to all of my questions and my my asks, which included adding the notes for the public and for the board, and just shifted and went with it all for the productive effort. And I really want to take a minute and truly thank her for all this work. That is not the end of all of this. I know that we continue to go on. So I just very much appreciate all the work that she does. So on this St. Patrick's Day, actually, a year ago, about 6 weeks after I had first started hearing about a pneumonia-like illness from my old DPH and FEMA and CDC peeps, that was starting to, we were getting news coming out of China in mid-January. Today was the day that I had to make a very difficult decision, which was to declare a local public health emergency, something that I think has only been done 3 or 4 times since 9/11. So it was sort of a big deal. On St. Patrick's Day a year ago, I had been in office for a whole 119 days after, you know, the rabid fox and a number of other adventures and things that I was dealing with. I thought I would be doing a million other things as a brand new chief elected official, but this was the moment I was facing. And so that was the moment that I needed to meet for the town. And obviously since then, it has been a year of meeting the moment. And about, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, I was listening to Dick Blumenthal talk about the pandemic, and he used the same phrase, we need to meet the moment. And I think he was talking about funding and vaccines and things. And it really has stuck with me. And it has come up dozens of times over Stormy Sais and through the pandemic. So I just want you to sort of keep that in mind as we go through this budget. And I'm going to do a screen share to pull the budget up. And it's going to be the snazzy one with the, can everyone see that?
Yes.
See if I can make
Yes.
it a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
One thing that I did forget to add to this page was on the bottom of the page where the groupings are, under B, I was supposed to add the EMS staffing, and I forgot to add that language. It'll be on future documents, but I wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Barbara.
So as everybody gets comfortable with the document, you can see when you hover over these green little arrows, like Barbara said, you get some handy dandy notes. So the, I think I'm just going to take a quick roll over these to see if there are any questions. And because I would rather go into the meat and potatoes of the budget.
Could we talk about public safety, first one up there with the green arrow?
Sure. So I'm gonna just go right down there. We'll stay on that since much deep in the budget. So the fire department came to both boards and asked for that $55,000 of appropriation for this current fiscal year, which is going to get them to July for the hired EMS staffing that they have contracted with. The name of the company is Emergency Resource Management. And based on a lot of work that their subcommittee did, the number that they came back with was this $104,544. And I saw a couple of fire department members on the call. If you had questions for them, I assume that you want this to be a, if there are folks here that you want to hear from.
John had contacted me to ask if he could speak tonight, he and Alan. So, John, would you like to speak now?
Yeah, thank you. In keeping with the context of Jean's comments, I did have two topics to comment on tonight. The first one is regarding the funding for the hired staff. And the other comment had to do with our grant request, but I have a feeling I should comment on the funding first. Is that right?
Yeah, so actually we'd like to pick up the grants when we get to the grant section, please.
Very good. What's happened is the process has gone very well. We are really appreciative of how all parties met the requests of our subcommittee, and we are off and running here with ERM. We feel confident that the 55,000 will get us to July, but as a result of a moderately frequent EMS responder of ours, a volunteer responder, he has taken a job with an out-of-state career, and so we will lose a number of shifts, sadly, with his departure. He did a lot of other things for the department as well, but the budget did have somewhat of a buffer built into it, and what I'm referring to is the $104,000 that was allotted for this July to July 2022. So we are taking steps to ameliorate this by supporting a current member who is about to finish her EMT course, and we continue to market an EMT course that is starting in Bantam soon. But we felt it was important to update you on this event. This is not a request for any kind of action, but wanted to keep the Board of Finance appraised of our forward-looking situation.
So as far as how the costs have been tracking against the 55,000, is it running above, below, what? Because the doc we have doesn't have an anticipated amount on it at this time.
If I could, I'd like to, if Bonnie Donzella, our ambulance chief, could unmute herself and see if she has a better or more accurate response than I do for that.
Hi, guys. Right now, we seem to be pretty much right on track. March, I just only got the third invoice, so I don't have a lot to base it off of. March seems to be a little bit higher, but I did have 3 or 4 folks that were out of town, so we needed a little more coverage. everybody will be back in April, so April looks to be a lot lower. So I think it balances out well, and I think, like John said, the 55 will be more than enough to get us through till July.
Thanks, Bonnie.
And just to keep you all sort of give you visibility, Bonnie and I have been spending many weekends and evenings crunching the numbers that are coming in from ERM, the invoices. And she's created a very, very detailed spreadsheet that's going to allow us to start to see what that trend line looks like. And we're working on a simple one pager to produce for the Board of Selectmen as part of my monthly report to them, so that the board and the public will be able to see where things are trending with the new staffing in a pretty detailed way.
Nancy, is one thought I just wanted to pose is, what is the possibility that any unused portion of the 55,000 could roll over into the 104,000 allotment?
I think the Board of Finance can discuss it, but if you're tracking, on target at this point, I think it would be premature discussion.
Agreed.
Also, the appropriation motion was very specific because it was increasing the budget, that unexpended funds at the end of this fiscal year automatically expired. There's no provision to roll them into anything. If you're going to increase next year's proposal, then that gets increased independent of what was left at the end of this fiscal year.
Precisely.
Okay, so if we start anticipating difficulties, we'll come back and check in with you and look into, as one Board of Selectmen member said, see what levers can be pulled.
Please do. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
So we'll go.
Relating to public safety, I was looking at the detail as well. And I just had a question that there was no Social Security in the, I guess it's the fire marshal's budget.
Let me go there.
Hey, Nancy, this is Alan Gobble. Could I just make a brief comment? I figured out how to unmute.
Oh, phooey.
So prepare your, just kidding. And I'll also say that I'm one of the people that is a right now 75 degrees and beautiful sunshine. So
Enough of that, Alan.
Never.
sorry, I just think I give you guys all something to think positive about. So what I just wanted to echo is the support that you guys gave us, months ago when we started for this, and echo the thanks for that. And the comments that were made about working together to try to figure out how to enhance the responders that we have from being able to, continue, and also some of the responders we have that are not currently able to sign up to shifts, and also on the recruitment effort. So those are things that, will really be key into next year's budget, finishing out this year to, because we decided, if you remember, not to budget worst case scenarios. We figured we would deal with them as they came up with someone, if someone left or, something happened, but hopefully we can, work that forward so that they're replaced, or, even additional people are put in. So as you get through your busy season here, John and Bonnie and myself have, talked as our group to make it a major priority to start working with you. So I'm not sure how you'd want to work that, but, and that obviously is discussion at another time. I just wanted to point that out now. So as we do move this forward, that is top on our agenda as it relates to funding, and also as it relates to, staffing, manpower, and so forth.
Thank you, Alan.
So the fire marshal, the reason why you don't see what you would see in some of the other departments under payroll, which would include social security, is, and Barbara, help me out so I get the wording correctly. He's a contracted employee, and so it's.
I'll stop you there.
Thank you.
He's not.
He's not.
In the past, he was a contracted
That's
employee.
what it is.
But the concern became that he wasn't covered by our workers' comp. So we made him a town employee. However, what was budgeted for him in the past and what's budgeted for him now more than covers his hourly rate plus the social security. So it's all just in that one line.
Thanks, Barbara.
Yep.
Thank you, Barbara. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, that's not it. It's the opposite of that. So here we go. And I'm gonna, I know you probably can't do this, so we're gonna see part pages. You'll see a number of, so in general, so our landline is under the town hall budget category. A number of years ago, they were, all the different departments landlines were, because they're really extensions, were consolidated in with the telephone. These, you'll see these, I think there are 2 requests from employees for their cell phone reimbursement of $50 a month. And so that's what you're seeing here. This is a current employee, so this is the administrative assistant, and you'll see a couple others popping up.
So we're
Under registrars,
for administrative employee.
I'm sorry?
So we are reimbursing an administrative employee for their cell phone.
Currently, we reimburse Park and Rec Director, administrative assistant, town hall administrative assistant, and Park and Department of Public Works foreman for their cell phones at $600 a year, $50 a month.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The registrars of voters are doing their canvas this year. That's why you see this this number is what it is. Barbara helped Karen with sort of honing down these numbers, and I have to say, every department, they come to the table with a pretty sharp pencil, as they always have. There's not a lot of, there's no fluff in this budget. They've all, so many longtime employees are able to run their departments really efficiently, and they do a really good job coming right in with really sharp pencils and really trim budgets. Oops, sorry about that. There's some registrars. We have a new registrar on the Republican side. He's required to have a certain number of trainings over the first 2 years of when he comes into office. And so that's why you see that training there. In the Board of Finance, this was the, Barbara was just noting, it's a per meeting, not an hourly rate.
Correct.
And if you, however you all want to do it, if you have questions as we go along, probably makes more sense to address them.
Right. Questions from the board?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And just continuing to move through. Again, you see a lot of very trim budgets where you're seeing the increase of, there was a global increase of 2% for payroll for all positions. So town clerk is one of the new requests for the cell phone reimbursement.
That was good. Come here.
That's 022, okay.
Me too. That's why you should right here and relax.
Your
We need to
501,
mute.
213, yes.
Come over.
Their computer.
It's a cell phone caller that
Needs to mute.
needs to mute.
Oh. Thank you, Rufus.
Ending in 317. So I don't.
That's Alan.
Oh, okay. Alan, can you thank you.
Jim, you had a question?
No,
Oh, okay. Under planning and zoning, Donna's department came with a request through her commission for a 5% raise, and through a lengthy conversation, the board kept it globally again to 2%. The commission, the two chairs, I think it's a chair and a vice chair, came with a cogent narrative and a cogent argument, and Donna and her team work really, really hard. As all departments pretty much saw a twist in how they conduct business, and they really flex to serve the public. And their board, their commission rather, came with full support of that. But the Board of Selectmen did vote to keep it at 2% globally.
So, at some of the departments, we're seeing a decrease in health insurance. What is driving that?
That was an actual decrease in the overall cost from our vendor in our health insurance.
So we didn't change carriers or anything.
Correct. And Joyce is our in-house health insurance expert, and I think she's on the call. Joyce, is that correctly characterizing that?
Yes, that's true. There was a 2% decrease.
What plan is that you have?
We have Anthem.
Thank you.
And continuing on, there was, under planning and zoning, there was a request under their supplies for Chromebooks for their commission members for planning and zoning, inland wetlands, and oh my goodness, ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, for each commissioner to have a Chromebook. And Donna made a really great presentation as to the need. In the bigger picture, there were some technical pieces that the board felt that could be worked out. To having 25 pieces of hardware out in the field presents a number of challenges. And so we're going to look in a broader picture for the entire building, possibly all commission members, to sort of flesh out what that should truly look like. Because hardware is a very personal choice. I mean, everybody is sitting in their home offices, or on their couches, or in their sunrooms, or if you're lucky, on vacation, Alan. And we're all sitting on a different device. Some of us are sitting on a mobile device. Some of us are sitting on a desktop or a laptop or a MacBook or an old iMac. It's very personal choice. So I felt that it was a good plan to hold off on that and see if there's a broader, more long-term solution to this that will really suit the needs of all these different commissions. Because there are a number of issues that I think that need to be addressed. There's email considerations. All the commissions are using personal email addresses. So there's a sort of a big pot of soup of things that I think we can address all at one time. And the commission and Donna were willing to have us pull that back out of there. Oops, I flew this. This is this. So for all three of Donna's departments, ZBA, planning and zoning, And inland wetlands, she had requested 5% and we kept it at 2%, as I said, globally. Again, the same with the building official, sorry about that. Town hall, so this big leap, when you look at this year over year, this is to pull fiber into the building. It's through that same, Nancy, you're probably familiar with it, the CEN. They are the organization that does it for everybody in the state, not only the schools and the libraries, but also town halls, fire departments, anybody who wants to pull that municipal fiber optic into their building, they handle it. So this would pull fiber optic into the building, which would be a huge advantage to us, as we saw over the last summer when we had no internet for many, many days. And the fire department did an amazing job. Alan as the communications officer and Ed as the fire chief at the time, they were able to, and Tim Bose too, were able to get us a cradle point in the building within, I think it was like 30 hours of the storm, and got us all back up online. So big thanks to them. And it was also a big wake-up call that we really need to, you know, lean forward and make this leap so that we have a little bit more of a backstop should that happen again, when that happens again, because we know it will. And again, as Barbara mentioned before, it's likely that we're going to be able to use some of that federal funding to pull this right out of the budget.
Jane,
Yes.
Jim, can you pull that fiber from the library where it currently exists, or do you need to go back to the source?
So there's 3 different places it can come from. One is the library, one is the school, one is the firehouse. And we're investigating all 3 of them. The firehouse has a generator. So that would, that to me puts it sort of at the top of the list. They're all mostly equidistant. Obviously the school is a teeny bit further, but from their standpoint, from what CEN has told us, that it's negligible. And having a generator connected with that fiber connection would be a big advantage.
Makes sense.
But we'll definitely, we're investigating all 3 of the options.
Thanks.
Really, it is the biggest sort of complexity is going under the train tracks, and no matter
I can do it.
which of the 3 places we pull it from, it's got to go under the train tracks. So that's nothing can be easy. So this was, there was a slight change because we pulled the 2 $600 cell phone pieces out of here. We increased the litigation line. That was at Donna's recommendation, to sort of give a more realistic number to that. The just in case, you never know number. And that was based a lot on, what happened this year. We had an increase in litigation. And so here now we are on grants.
This is Jim. Because of my association with the library, I'm going to recuse myself from these conversations. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Jim.
Nancy, should I recuse myself for KVHE?
I
If
don't,
there,
I don't think anybody should recuse themselves.
Okay.
Go tap on Jim's shoulder and tell him to come back and listen.
Yeah, and I
I'm
recently-
serious. He's a member of the Board of Finance. He's a volunteer. He's a volunteer at the library. You're a volunteer, Tegan. There's no
Yeah.
reason why any of you should leave. It's too small a town for everybody to recuse themselves.
And Nancy, I don't have the article in front of me, but I recently read something that I was reading something about FOI and Robert's rules and the whole term of recusing oneself. And it's sort of a myth that you're supposed to actually leave a meeting, that people can stay in the meeting and hear the conversation and listen to the discussion if they want to recuse themselves from the decision-making process. That's their choice, but they don't have to physically leave the room.
Well, that's correct, and I didn't expect him to leave.
And he was
Probably
so
just wants
fast.
to have dinner.
That's right, that's what I was thinking. He wanted to have his dinner.
I've unmuted.
We're talking about you, Jim.
I've unmuted.
Good. The Mets aren't even playing tonight, Jim.
I know.
Oh, dear. All right.
Oh, the Mets.
So if we were going to vote on anything, then it would be a different matter.
I'm not even sure about that, but beside the point.
Well, okay. Anyway,
So the library folks came and presented their request for $125,000, which is, as you can see, an increase. And I'm only going to talk about them at the same time because it happened at the same meeting. The fire department came to the board and requested a $20,000 increase, bringing them up to $106,500. Chris had brought up the concept of, I'm only loosely using the term flat funding, but funding them both at $100,000. There was a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion over the course of a couple of meetings. The board, this is what the board voted to move forward. There was very spirited conversation, and my participation or my contribution was that they both are vital, critical organizations in the community. The fire department obviously is required. We need to have a fire department. We need to have emergency medical services. The library also has such an important role in the town. They have become the community center. We don't have a community center. We don't have a teen center. We don't have those, those pieces and parts that a New Milford or a Brookfield has. The library has taken on all those roles, and what they've done with their programming and what Sarah Marshall has done with her programming during this pandemic is amazing. It blows me away that they have 45,000 people come through the library in the course of a year. I believe that they should be funded in the complete request that they made. They both heavily rely on their fundraisers annually. They both had to not conduct pretty much any fundraisers all year long. I think the fire department, all they did was their annual appeal letter that came out at the very end of last year. This is a year that they need funding, and to continue on with the growth of both the organizations, I think they should both be funded at the level that they requested.
could you please repeat what their original ask was? For each
So the
one?
library's ask was 125,000.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should just hover over this. And the fire department was 106,500.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I say something, or should I wait till you're done?
Well, actually, we also have members from the fire department and from the library who would both like to speak
Well,
tonight.
I'd like to speak first because I don't want to hear
I'd
from
like
any
to
of
hear
them.
from, I'm happy to hear from Ed. I'm here with Sarah Marshall, but I'd happy to hear from Ed
As
first.
I said earlier, we are anticipating big surpluses this year. And I don't see any reason why either of those grants should have been cut. And I think it's even ridiculous that they have to be equalized. That is insane. There's nothing that the library and the fire protection have in common. I don't know when a motion is due, but, and let me say, if you're going to talk about recusing, I was president of the library for a decade. I was treasurer of the library for a decade. And I've had a son who's been fire chief for a decade. I would recommend we put those numbers back. I don't think the library has to defend itself. They certainly do a lot of publicity, and everybody knows what they're doing. And everybody knows what the fire department is doing too, so.
I'm with Ed here. Like, I look at the budget as a moral, not only a fiscal document for the town, but it's a moral document of what we want our town to be and how we want our town to grow. And I agree, there's no world I see that both of these should be flat funded at the same rate, as they serve two different services for our town. The fire department keeps us safe, deals with emergencies, you know, all that. And the library is really the only common public area in our town that's truly left that does the level of programming that they do and brings the amount of people that they do into the town. It's not only a key place for community health and wellness, it's a gathering place, but it's also an economic driver. The book sale brings in so many people into this town, and that then go out and spend money at the Villager and at Kingsley and at JP Giffords and all over our town. And we all know, we live in town, we don't go into town on the weekends because we can't find parking. And a lot of that is the library. And, I think too, one of the things that really drew me back into wanting to come back to this town, besides my love for the town and my family, is, coming to quiz night at the library, because it really truly was the one large community event that brought all aspects of our community together. The people that live here full time, weekenders, all Kent residents together for this one huge community night. And I think that feeling is so crucial to save and so needed in this town. So I strongly advocate for returning to the funding that we request.
Just don't forget about the Fireman's Ball.
Oh, yes, of course. And the Fireman's Ball, yes. I think, yeah, I don't see a reason that these should be flat funded. I mean, it's not like the fire protection and EMS are asking for different, and they need to be kind of flat funded together in a package. These are two separate things that serve two separate functions for the town. So.
Would anyone else from the Board of Finance like to comment at this point?
I would agree. I also feel that both of the organizations critical for our town, and I think we should show our support and reinstate those funds, especially if we are in such a good position to do so.
Okay, out of respect for Sandy and Sarah and John, who have been sitting on this meeting for an hour now, waiting.
Sorry.
That's their problem.
Maybe we can give them a minute or two. I know, and you don't have a Mets to get to, so let's give everybody an opportunity, okay, in this regard. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, would you like to start? You were the first one to contact me, so I think that's only right.
Sure. Thank you for everybody for letting us speak. I will be brief. It sounds like we have a lot of support on the Board of Finance, and we are very, very grateful. Here tonight is Sandy Edelman, who is one of our co-presidents, and me. I'm the director. I did send a document out to Nancy, and I think you did share it with your Board of Finance members about the amount of money that we have to fundraise every year to meet our budget. We raise about $70,000 of our budget every year with gifts and fundraising. And many of you I know who are at this meeting are some of those people, but I would just like to say that this year our fundraising hours, our volunteer hours dropped because we couldn't do them because of COVID. But in a regular year, we have over 5,000 hours of volunteer time that people put in. And what we are trying to do as a library is trying to have our income not necessarily depend on the work of volunteers. Our volunteer pool is aging, and the last thing we want to do is to be expecting more and more out of people that are that are less able to contribute. So Kent receives 70% of its income from fundraising. It is one of the poorest in the area, as you can see from that document that I sent. However, our performance is one of the best. We work really hard as a staff to bring people in. And I just wanted to point out that we are #1 in the state of Connecticut in program attendance. We really do drive a lot of the cultural events and educational events and entertainment events in town. for low or no cost to our town. So I do feel like we are careful to that our programs are affordable for the people that are enjoying them. And then as far as where we rank in funding, there are 164 libraries in the state of Connecticut, public libraries in the state of Connecticut, and we rank 160th, which is a shocking number as far as I'm concerned. There are four libraries that receive less than we do. They all have massive endowments, and we do not.
Sarah, a question for you with
Yes.
that statistic, also with your other stats. You have combined town-owned libraries with independent libraries for these.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So the municipal, the 164 libraries are all the libraries in the state. And Connecticut has a fair number of association libraries, but the vast majority of those association libraries have large endowments. The association library that receives the least amount of funding is Torrington. They receive 1% of their income from municipal funds. Their endowment is massive. We don't have that.
So they're an independent library too, just as Kent
They
Memorial.
are an association. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, we aren't asking necessarily to become a municipal library. It's just moving that appropriation a little bit closer to the state average.
Right, but what I'm saying is, as far as the average is concerned, if a town library is overseen and run by the town, it would be interesting to see the two separated out, the independent, able to stand alone versus the other, rather than bundling it together, because it confused me a little bit.
Okay, I will be happy to put that data together for you. I can just show you just the association library and send that along.
That'd be great.
Okay, sure. I'll put it on my list.
Yeah,
And then
sure.
Sandy was going to have a few other comments too.
Thank
Sandy?
you, Sarah. I don't know if Ed Epstein is still on the call, but since you brought up the Mets,
I
I
wouldn't
don't know-
dare miss it.
Okay, well, I don't know if you know that because your name is very similar to my last name, that Jim Blackadder is constantly sending me emails about Mets games that go on when they are going on, that they're intended for you. Anyway.
That has
so-
nothing to do with our names. That has to do with Jim Blackadder's brain.
Maybe. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. And really thank you everybody for the words of support for the library. It made me feel very emotional about the appreciation. We submitted this $125,000 request. Last year was extremely tough for us, being so dependent on fundraisers. We canceled all three. We were lucky to do a matching campaign that was successful. This year, we actually think those fundraisers are going to happen, but we actually have budgeted them to be less revenue generating because we think fewer people may want to come out given the pandemic. We may need to start the book sale a little later, maybe sell more spaced out books. So it's going to be a tough year. And all three of our fundraisers, we are optimistic, subject to crises happening, that they will happen, that there will be a book sale bringing people to the town again. But we think they're all going to make less money. So that's an issue. But what I really wanted to talk about was this suggestion that was made at the selectmen's our meeting with the selectmen about comparing the library to the fire department in terms of grant requests. This was not a comparison we sought at all. We have said we're two very different organizations. Of course, we recognize the value of the fire department, the services they provide to the town. We did not seek to join them. But if that comparison was going to be sought, we wanted to at least point out that we are actually not similarly situated or starting from a level playing field when it comes to other things from town support. And some of those points were, as you heard at this meeting, the fire department has gotten EMS funding, which has been very important, and I understand why it is, but has gotten that and may get more. The fire department is on the capital plan, and there have been some significant expenditures. The Kent Library has not to date been on the capital plan at all. And added that to debt servicing over many years that the town has generously and appropriately given to the fire department. So we just say for a lot of reasons, we just don't think it's a good comparison and we're not really in the same situation. And also, with the thought that we can treat both organizations and keep them flat at 100,000, that was going to be like a 10% increase for what the fire department requested and a sorry, I think a 15% increase, and for the library, it was going to be a 10% decrease. And we were hoping to restore what we had asked for, and I appreciate the words of support and can answer questions.
What was the number for volunteer hours you said?
So
For 2020, it was a little over 3,000 because we were closed for a
Sure,
period
but
of time, and obviously, yeah.
What's your normal?
2019, it was 5,330.
5,330.
And that is across the fundraisers and also board work.
Yeah.
The board does tremendous amounts of work putting together all of these different things that we do and working on strategic planning for the library, et cetera.
Yeah, for the rest of the Board of Finance who might not run a nonprofit, that's the equivalent of $144,976 of hours, according to
volunteer time
yeah.
that we're lucky and we're grateful for.
That's a lot of volunteer hours. So good for our community for helping the library.
Well, and we like having all of those things, and our volunteers are happy to do the work that we ask them to do, and it serves other purposes. It's not just fundraising; it's also building community. It's also providing things for the town. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you create these big teams of volunteers that people buy into the library's mission. But it is, yes, an excessive amount of time, especially when you think about all of our fundraisers, the big summer fundraisers, they're all weather dependent. And, you know, you can have all the people in the world ready to work, but if you're in a rainstorm or another tornado or whatever, we don't make any money.
And they were pandemic vulnerable.
Right.
Well, I don't have to tell you that, Rufus.
Okay, so any other?
Chris Garrity here.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, how is everyone?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So I'm the one that started all this ruckus and I want to say that two things, well, a number of things. One, this was not a process to try to equalize two different groups that do wonderful work here. It's also not doubted by the selectmen, nor certainly me, that both are needed. I do find, however, the Board of Selectmen are responsible for making sure that there is a fire department or some sort of emergency services here in town, and a municipal library, unfortunately, isn't under our auspices at this point. The main reason for my suggestion and flat fund is a strong word, but it's designed to year over year have a number so that associations can understand it, know it, and budget around it. But the bigger point here is really, what is the philosophy of the town and the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen when it comes to grants specifically? If you take the logic that all these wonderful hours and people have put in time and importance of all these different organizations is so critical, why aren't we putting them in the capital plan? The library as an example. Why aren't we giving them significantly more? But why is it that every year it's all, we need this and we need that, we're up and we're down? I think it would be a much better budgeting tool if we had a hard, fast number that they can work around. So that's my point. But again, getting back to the broader question, what is the Board of Finance said to the Board of Selectmen, we are looking to keep the mill rate the same.
That is correct.
Ed, which I respect, but you can keep the mill rate the same even if we increased it 2 mills, our budget, because you have resources in which to offset that. As Ed has said, there's a big surplus coming in and we're already sitting on a bunch of cash. I don't personally think that that's smart budgeting. So I think the Board of Selectmen took it to heart that we don't want to try to move the budget that much higher. But we did get this new ambulance situation, and we have slight cost of living raises for all of our people on the payroll. And so the question begs, and I know it's not an easy one, and believe me, I'm not against the library and I'm not against the fire department. I think if we could creatively come up and fund them more, that would be great. But we have to have the conversation. I don't think it's productive to every year to have, oh, well, this is great. They do a lot of work. No doubt. No doubt. But I would like to have that conversation so that when we come to the budget in years ahead, we don't have to talk about funding a grant funding. It's a given. So here's I think the impetus for that discussion.
So you're proposing basically moving them from essentially a grant item into like a earmarked line item.
Well, it has to be a grant.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be anything but, because they are not, they're not municipal.
Right.
Right, but it could have be initially established and then have an annual increase based on cost of living, something like that. Because as we know, with inflation, if an amount stays static for too long, it becomes quite insufficient.
Or you have some sort of escalator, if you will,
Right.
A percentage of something, if you will. But yes, so that, we don't go through this every year. Why should we, the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance, which are only, 10, 12 people, decide the fate of the library when, if we all agree, bang, this is a number, well, and yes, the fire department to the point that the fire department gets more and different. Yes, indeed, they do. But, the library doesn't need trucks, and they don't need the apparatus to the degree that the fire department needs. And again, I go back to the fact that we are responsible for making sure that we have a fire department.
Right.
So I think that's where I'd like to have that discussion. And why I brought this up as hey, let's have a conversation, because the only way to get people's attention is to say, let's have a hard and fast number that we can also, sort of talk about.
So the number that's on the budget, is that the number that the Board of Selectmen felt was a good hard and fast number?
The number on the budget that you see is the number the Board of Selectmen supported because we felt that we were doing our due diligence to make sure that we were going to try to comply with the Board of Finance request to keep the mill rate flat. And again, we don't look at what funds and resources like the 1.3 or how much money we have and the additional surplus coming in. We can't look at that as guaranteed revenue. That's your job.
Well, and it's not guaranteed.
And it's not guaranteed. Thank you.
That's the bottom line. It's not.
It's not guaranteed. And keep in mind, we're responsible for trying to fund everything. Gene brought up, the need for significantly increasing the funding for what is called civil preparedness, but I can't remember what the new term is. And
Emergency management.
Thank you, emergency management. And
20 years. It's been called that.
Well. And
9/11 is when it went from civil preparedness to emergency management, but we're not in that part of the budget yet. Chris, you came in and we're walking. I've been walking the board
Yep,
through.
I saw that.
So
But I'm using it as an example of whether the idea is good, bad, or indifferent is not the point. The point is that we have to consider that the increased work that needs now to be done to the Swift House. There's a lot more that we have to look at as well from the management point of view, not from the financial structure point of view.
We appreciate that, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else you wanted to share at the moment?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
So that's pretty much it for this page. I don't know if there were any other questions. As you can see, the other.
Did the fire department need to present?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, my
You're absolutely right.
apologies, John was going to talk. Thanks, Rufus.
Thanks, Rufus.
Is John? There
Yeah.
he is.
Hi. I did want to clarify one thing is we were able to hold our golf tournament this year. Although it brought in it netted $6,500, but unfortunately we had budgeted $16,500 for it. But the vast majority of our other fundraisers and sources of revenue did not pan out. And I certainly see the argument for flat funding as a philosophy, so that expectations and patterns are more better managed. And certainly our grant at the fire department had remained steady at $86,500 for a number of years. But as we know, revenue for our organizations will decline or surge, and special projects, initiatives, what have you, need to be cut, but not fixed costs. And during a global pandemic, there seems to be a perplexity here about why is that philosophy being pressed at this time. But I think that portends to there's just more to be understood in this area at another time. But our grant of $106,500, a $20,000 increase, does not contain special projects or awards dinners or new initiatives. And to help make our 2021 budget, we drew for the first time $29,000 from our investment fund and $30,000 from our rental account, but also cutting where we can to help replace lost revenue from fundraisers, and in some areas, increased expenses. So the increase in the grant we requested is really to keep paying the bills, largely fixed costs, but also to bring in some new members. And at a previous Board of Selectmen meeting, not the most recent one, we did say that we were entering 2021 with a 2,000 to 3,000 budget shortfall, but stated we could probably handle that. But we did not anticipate an additional 6,500 shortfall. So without this specific grant increase of 20,000, we will need to cut from other areas that might include training. This is why the Kent Fire Department is certainly in need of that full $20,000 increase to our grant. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anyone have any questions for John? Okay. Jean, do you want to continue?
Certainly. As you can see, all the rest of the organizations at the bottom of this page here, they were all, the requests all came in level with the previous year, which speaks to, again, everybody's really sharpening their pencil and doing the best that they can. Associations additionally came in all level funded. We've been having a lot of meetings with the Housatonic the Housatonic Valley Association, talking about river recreation for next summer. That's sort of a hot topic right now. The Historic Commission insurance contingency, there was this small increase in our insurance. So that's not the health insurance, but the Kerma end of the house. And that comes right from Kerma. When you go down to public safety fire marshal, you can see he's pretty much flatly funded. And then we go into public safety. So the one we've already had that discussion about the 104,544. I know Bonnie, Alan, and John are still on the call. If I don't know if they wanted to speak to this, but maybe give them an opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity.
I'm sorry, Gene, I stepped away for a second and then I heard my name.
That's okay. Even though we already had an initial conversation from the header page about the EMS staffing, we're now at the specific line. So I didn't know if
Thank you.
Aaron
Yes.
wanted to afford the fire department a moment.
We had just wanted to make the Board of Finance aware that our margins have become even a little more slim on the funding due to the loss of a moderately active responder, and that the loss of another active responder could create a situation where we would need to come back and see you guys.
Thank you for that, John. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So moving on to emergency. Currently, this line 377 in the chart of accounts, it's 056000.
Jean, excuse me, can I ask about that civil preparedness? Is that is that contain all the CERT stuff that was happening in town?
Yep. So that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head of where I was headed next.
Okay.
So it's always been called in that category, civil preparedness. If it needs I guess I'll request that it get renamed to emergency management. It was actually changed in the Connecticut General Statutes a couple of years ago, I think 2017 to that. So it would make sense to follow with the statutes. But that's sort of on the side since we're in that moment. Their original request was $31,450. And that was to, sorry, I just want to make sure I have my notes correct. The request was for some staff stipends, some supplies and equipment, and to pay for a software tool that was hugely critical, especially during the pandemic and specifically during the tropical storm. The olden days of civil preparedness where, volunteers drove around patrolling the streets are long, long gone. After 9/11, the federal government injected billions of dollars into emergency management and homeland security. And I'm sure at different levels, everybody's fully aware of post 9/11. That money was really what kept emergency management at the local level buoyant and sort of bumping along in the background. And that's why you've never seen it really addressed from a financial perspective. This last year is that meet the moment year. It could not be said louder about the critical need for our town and many, many other small towns to take emergency management seriously and inject some funding to build a department. Very quickly, a CERT team was established, which we've never had before. And they have really, the number of missions that they've taken they keep the test site running. They do all the traffic management for the test site, and the charging stations that they stood up after the tropical storm, many missions that they took up, especially post Isaias, were so critical because one of the really important things that the CERT does is the fire department has their role. The fire department, they are whether it's fire or EMS, they're in a broad sense hazard practitioners. So the firefighters spend a lot of time getting trained as firefighters. EMS gets a lot of training as pre-hospital clinicians. Those are their roles. That's their expertise. Emergency management has that expertise in planning and coordination. And that's really what modern emergency management is. It's no longer going and picking up the branches across the street. That's left up to local DPW. The fire department closes roads, DPW closes roads, law enforcement does the law enforcement piece, EMS does the patient piece. That planning and coordination, the qualifications that are needed to do planning and coordination that's required by the Connecticut general statutes of a local emergency operations plan is what is needed. We no longer do we have 30 firefighters who are available to split their roles and wear multiple hats. We need the firefighters fighting the fires. We need EMS doing what they do as clinicians, and we need emergency management doing all the planning and coordination for that. So in that, this is the year that they're requesting this inject of funding. They also have never been compensated. And the amount of time and energy and availability that the team has made during Storm Isaias and during the pandemic is a long lost track of the number of hours. They're asking for a $10,000 stipend for the director, $5,000 stipend for the deputy director. They're also asking for the software, which is $6,950 to be also funded. And I think it was about $5,000 for supplies and equipment for emergency management and for CERT. CERT has basic two-way radios. They have vests that they have to have for traffic management. They have some other small pieces of equipment. They have nowhere to store that. It's in cardboard boxes at the transfer station right now and upstairs at the here at Town Hall. Basic things like that to start to build a department are really what's needed. And I know that the board wants this budget to be very, very tight. We're definitely looking at looking for grants, but that funding is going to help this department. It looks like the net would actually be more like 19,500 versus that 31 with that federal money that we're going to be getting pretty soon. So the board moved this forward at that level flat funding for $49.50, but it is woefully inadequate for what we need to finally build a proper emergency management department and provide a little bit of compensation for these folks who are spending a lot of time doing this planning and coordination. And I don't know if Eric was on the road. I think David is on the call if anybody had questions.
I had a question as to, are there other towns in our region that are doing similar things? And is there any sort of intermunicipal agreement we can enter into to sort of cost share some of this, maybe with some of our surrounding smaller towns?
So I know that CERT just started interfacing with the New Milford CERT, and they've actually invited our CERT members to all of their trainings. So that's going to be a huge advantage for us, because then we won't have to, hire trainers. And it also goes to the mutual aid concept, which is a tried and true, working concept that continues to happen in New England all the time.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have county government. I would certainly, with the success that we've had with the software, I think it would be a great idea to, go and talk to Warren, go and talk to Cornwall to see if we can do some sort of future sharing with them. And it would also help pull that mutual aid piece in during planning and coordination, because we all share those borders.
Well, and we do mutual aid with a number of towns.
Yep.
So
And
Yeah.
there is a bigger regional picture when it comes to what's called DEMIS, which is the Department of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. We're one of those 5 regions.
Yeah, we're region 5, right?
I'm sorry.
Are we region 5?
Yep.
Yeah.
Biggest region, 43 towns. And I would just, from my previous experience, I would say we collectively, our region does really the best job at equipment sharing and sharing of all different resources. We share the emergency sign that's down at the COVID testing. That's actually shared among the 43 towns. So it's collective. They were collectively purchased for the region with that old DEMIS money, and now they're dispersed around the region. And when you need one, you make a request up to DEMIS, and those assets get moved around. So that saves. It's similar to the COG, but on a bigger scale. And again, we get to see savings from all that.
My question is about the software update. Is that something that the state or the feds or whomever are mandating that this continual upgrades?
So they don't mandate the use of a virtual EOC platform or environment, but with the pandemic and not being able to meet in person, it sort of was required, and there was no way for us to do to solve that, not any other way. And the all the way up to the state EOC, I believe, is actually still in a virtual format at this point, and the regional EOC, all the EOCs have become virtual. So also gone are the days of, you used to see these big rooms with, covered in whiteboard walls and covered in TVs and banks like at NASA of computers. But those days of all that infrastructure really are over. The communications by and large are happening over the internet, and they're happening in email, they're happening in this environment that we brought in last year.
And is this software a shareable commodity or not?
I don't know if it's specifically, if we can share, would be that a situation of, which is hot in the news right now, of your entire family sharing one Netflix password kind of thing. But there may be opportunities to co-opt. I don't know enough about the platform. David's the subject matter expert on that. But I can't imagine that there's not a way to somehow co-opt some mutual aid where we're sharing that resource. And we would definitely look to be doing that, because obviously it would save us money. And also that's one of the, in the long list of what you can and can't use this upcoming money for, that is one of the things that we can use this money for. So that will get pulled out of the budget should we, have check in hand. So there's a lot of emergency management buckets to that funding.
Because one would think you would need the most up-to-date data possible. So
yes, and it's a service as it's called SaaS, service as a subscription, or software as a subscription. So we subscribe to that annually, and it's all over internet based, so you can be anywhere and be on the in the environment.
And I have to. And I just wanted to say, I just thought CERT through the year, this past year, has done such a remarkable job. So I think the town appreciates everything that has happened. Thank you.
With this, I had a question too about, I guess the request, is that something that is like you are foreseeing as a yearly thing, or is it we have to upgrade, or purchase current equipment that's out of date? That is then like.
I missed the last part of that.
Basically, that is this, the initial request outside of stipend is like that 7,000 or whatever it is for software. and the 9,000 for supplies, is that a yearly, like those have to be refreshed every year? And is the stipend, like, you know, we are always going to need 2 people in this, you know, I think like my question is just the details of that.
Right.
You
Sure,
know.
I think the category that we're really boosting the funding in for this initial year is in the supplies. And once they, you know, once they level out with the needs of especially CERT, you won't see that $5,000. It will be much lower than that. The software will be the software, unless, you know, if we're able to co-op some sort of sharing with other towns, we can see software, you know, we'll see savings for the software as well. But it's really to inject money so that both CERT and emergency management can get some equipment that is overdue, and it's basic equipment. And again, that's also going to likely come under that funding, that federal funding. So that number of 31,000 is not, it won't end up actually looking, it won't be 31,000. It will be lower. It'll be again more like 19,000.
So the one concern I have is that with so many things going to being internet based, we really got to beef up the cell service, and you know, to get that squared away here, because we've got some areas that there's virtually no service.
Yeah, it's a huge hole, huge gaps all over town.
Just Chris.
Broadband will be able to, they're working on that at the state level. I know there's a couple of bills to fund that broadband, the last mile broadband that has been referred to for about a year now.
Chris, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that while this discussion is informative, this is not something that the Board of Selectmen actually ever vetted. And I guess anyone who saw this, my reaction to when this came up may have been taken aback, but I am a person who likes process. Every thing in this line has gone through process, meaning the library, the fire department, the Swift House, each of the departments, each of the individuals have come to us with a presentation and a rationale as to what they do and why they do it and how they do it. I'm not here to say whether we need this or don't need this. That is not my point. We may need this. It may, what Jean is describing may be something we're not even funding enough. I don't know that. But what I would like to interject is that I don't think this is something that we should consider funding right now, because it hasn't gone through the proper process of the Board of Selectmen, understanding who gets paid, why they get paid, when they get paid, do they get escalations? What kind of software do we buy? Where do we buy it? When do we buy it? Do we coordinate, like Rufus said, do we look out and reach out how we can cross-coordinate with other towns to cover this? What is the role of the fire department? What's the perspective of the ambulance? What's the perspective of the police officer? So that when the Board of Selectmen make the recommendation to the Board of Finance and therefore the town, everybody's well informed as to what, how, and where this program works, like we do with every other program. And so that is why I did not support increasing any money in this line, although next year maybe will likely be different, because we will have much more information and color so that we know what we're doing.
Thanks.
And that was really a matter of, this is really, in a sense, a brand new department. The emergency management director didn't get the budget documents. It was a function of no one's fault. It was, I think we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And there's I still think that there's a need to, now is the time to inject some funding into this to do what's long overdue, to create the department that needs to be created. And because their budget documents didn't end up in those hands, I think is just being short-sighted. That's
Well,
just-
two things on that, Gene, and Board of Finance. One, if you recall, I was a hard ass when it came to the fire department not getting their capital plan money in last year, and they got shorted. And now that was the same excuse. And it happens where either you don't get paperwork or somebody else is responsible for it, but they took it on the chin. And and at some point, we all have to be fully informed in a municipality. We also sometimes have to make hard choices and saying yes, no. And that is why I got, my vote was no. Again, I'm not saying the program's not worth it. I'm not saying the program's not needed. But I think in fairness to myself as a selectman, Ed, and the rest of the town, we just need to know exactly how this is run and where it won. And it's not, you say it's a new operation. It's not a new operation. It's been around for a long time. It's just been funded or underfunded for a long time. So I look forward to next year, talking that through.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see, Gene, I see the need for this, definitely. We're seeing this regionally, we're seeing this statewide. But I do agree with Chris that, something that we've been talking internally, especially, with our discussion that we're postponing about our annual report, what we want to see out of people and departments that are getting municipal funding, to make sure that we are informing the town. I do think that like a fuller presentation in detail about what this funding would be used for is needed. And that's just that's my opinion. I recognize the need for this. I don't think it's an outrageous request, but I do think it would, especially given the circumstances,
As the leaders of the town, the Board of Selectmen needs to come in for a landing and bring it through the town processes.
Yeah.
I would respectfully, get out of the middle of this discussion because I think it's better resolved at the Board of Selectmen's table.
Yeah.
If that's all right.
Sure.
So I'd like to get back on track as we're running through the budget here, unless somebody had something else on.
Oh, and I think my Adobe Acrobat has just decided to crash.
Oh dear. It's great when it works, and when it doesn't, it's
Great.
the.
It's
All right.
decided it's had enough. Let me just stop share and I'll come back.
Okay,
See if
well, I'll
this
just ask a general question because I know that Barbara's still probably with us. Yeah, I see Barbara's here. So it just kind of popped out at me, but the electricity went way up at the town garage. Is that what's driving that?
That question is to me.
Answer it. You or Jean?
I'm not sure, but my guess is going to be that we are going to try to budget it closer to what it's been coming in at.
So
What
is it
was,
electric heat we've got over there?
excuse me?
Is it electric heat we have over in that old building?
I can't be positive, but I don't believe so. No.
Joyce, are you still on the call? Joyce handles all the electric
Yep.
bills. So she might have some clarity on this while I try to get this open again.
You're talking at the town garage building?
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the actual for this year, oh, I see, because it's up at 9. Oh, I don't know. I'd have to do a little research to answer you.
It was just a curiosity thing because the heating fuel has gone up, but the cost of heating fuel has gone up, unfortunately. So I get that.
But if you look back at 2019, 2020, that number was 9,203.
But it was 4,000 in 18, 19.
so it's variable.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
I don't
We're
think
all at the whims of Eversource.
Ugh.
Put on the
that's what
big
we're
guy.
dealing with, yes.
Anyway, somebody can get us an answer on that. And, and some of this too, I mean, I know we're getting down in the weeds, but oftentimes what seems to happen is we get to the public hearing and these are the discussions that people want to have.
Yeah.
If we have them now, then, we've kind of fleshed a lot of it out already.
Well, and that for me, just so everybody, like, this is my second time, and the first time was in the middle of the start of a pandemic doing the budget. So I actually appreciate everyone taking their time to sort of have these discussions. So it helps me understand the budget and the town a little bit more.
Yep. Okay, Jean, you want to continue on?
Sure. Joyce, I don't know if you had any, not to be too punny, light to shed on the electricity.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check with Rick.
Okay.
I do have well, are we on the highway department budget?
Well, I just looked very quickly at the detail in my system, and I think part of it is that in 1819, we were getting electricity through a third-party distributor, and I think we had a very good rate that was locked in through CCM, and we are no longer with that program. And these are just the electric bills. It's running $500 a month, and it's been running that since the very end of 2019.
Thank you. So Jean, I have a question on the highway department budget. And we have a couple of different salary lines. And then there's a line that says snow removal salaries. Now, is that, so where oftentimes you see a separate overtime line in a budget, and I don't see any place where overtime is broken out. Is that something that is tracked?
That's what that is.
Yeah, that is overtime. That's the overtime they get paid during the season, the winter snow maintenance season. That's
But-
why there's another overtime line.
Where's the other overtime line?
Well, it's probably not on this. It's in my detail, but it must just go into the staff salaries, but they only get budgeted. Hold on one second. The highway department gets budgeted for a certain number, 25 hours of regular overtime. So that's all the rest of the year. And during the snow season, they're budgeted for 200 hours of overtime.
Okay, so the 25 hours of overtime.
That's just in that staff salaries line
Got it.
because it's so small.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, because that's going up a bit. Okay, so thank you.
Were there any other questions on highway department or the town aid, public works
none.
piece?
I have none.
Go ahead, Jim.
I have none.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering why the equipment fuel budget was going down with the cost of fuel going up.
I'd have to check back with Rick.
Okay,
I apologize.
no problem. Can't know everything.
So going to the bottom of the page, we are on, oops, sorry. This is social services, and this is the other new stipend for annual phone use, annual cell phone paying their bill, reimbursing them. And again, these are, the small increases due to the payroll piece.
During the pandemic, their lives were not their own, for sure.
yeah, they've done an amazing job at flexing with the massive increase of food bank users and the protocols that they had to put in place to make the food bank continue to happen. It's been a lot of work, for sure. So on to Park and Rec. There was $7,000 that was originally presented up in the payroll end of their budget. And their Leslie's commission had requested a part-time park maintainer. And through the discussion of the Board of Selectmen, we thought it would be appropriate to move it down to park maintenance and have them look at contracting the work out for this year. Part of it is that person would need someone to supervise them, and that wasn't really fleshed out. And they don't have supplies or equipment like wheelbarrows and shovels and hedge clippers and things like that. So it seemed to make sense to move that into a contracted position so that they can see what their needs are. And then for the following fiscal year, see if they want to move that, then, flesh it out a little bit more, understand what the details of the job are that they're looking for, tasks, duties, and then possibly move it to a staff position. So we moved it into this park maintenance, and this is current, but it was moved from the town hall telephone. Again, this is cell phones that are reimbursed. So that, just to be clear, this is people's personal cell phones. We're reimbursing them for their cell phone bill on a monthly basis. I realize I probably didn't say that well the first time. So then moving down, are there any questions on Park and Rec?
Sounds like we're good.
Okay, I'll keep moving. Community house is pretty level funded. There was the need for the roof, which was talked about at a previous board meeting, where we're going to be using that Emily Hobson fund to pay for that roof that's really badly needed. There is going to be more funding that's going to be needed to do all of the projects that the task force is looking to do, but that'll come as we move forward.
So the maintenance line coming down was because some of the repairs are going to be made? At the
Joyce, are you still on the call? Sorry, I have my panes minimized so I can be looking at the document. I couldn't tell.
It went down because if you recall, last year, the Board of Finance infused, I think it was $5,000 in that line.
Yep.
At the last minute. And so that money was extracted, and then the budget was put more into proportion as to what the expenses truthfully will be.
So because some of the maintenance items, the long-term things have been taken care of.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then you'll also see the repairs line did come up to a more appropriate funding level. Ball field maintenance.
I'm sorry, if I may interject and jump back to Park and Recreation. Sorry about that, guys. I just stepped out. I don't know if everyone's aware, but Jean, did we not get the resignation of Leslie Ferris?
Yeah, Nancy announced it at the beginning of this.
Okay, thank you. So does that have any impact with respect to her salary going forward? I mean, we've had a Park and Rec director there for 22, 3, 4 years, and she started at a salary, and of course, with performances and raises and such, has reached a level. And I guess it only begs the question, do we keep that number the same? Expecting to have to hire someone for more money, or is it an entry-level person who's going to have less money? I only throw that out as a question more than anything.
Chris, isn't that a Board of Selectmen decision?
Well, it is, but it is a Board of Selectmen's decision, but we really weren't operating with that while, we only got the news the other day after we presented it and finalized and ratified it.
Chris, she only resigned from us tonight, so.
Right, right. So you
Uh,
guys are really, I just bring it out, that's all. It's just something of note.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that, the salary would be based somewhat on experience as well. So if there was someone else that was coming in with other experience qualifications too, that would be a negotiation between the town and that prospect.
And I would think the Park and Rec Commission would, want to have some discussion with the Board of Selectmen too. So I think that it's getting bucked back to you all at the Board of Selectmen table.
Okay, I make it up my point. I didn't want to gloss over it. Thank you.
Oh, shoot. The other thing to think about is the health insurance line.
Right. Good point. Thank you, Leslie.
So moving on to Board of Ed, those are sort of, we get them and we don't have, they go straight to you all pretty much.
Yep.
And here's our just comments on the debt service. And then capital.
We haven't talked about Swift House.
Oh,
That was
sorry.
the community house, I believe.
It was sort of both at the same time. It's right at the bottom of the page. I apologize.
That was Jim, that was the discussion on the roof request is going to get paid off by the
Emily Hobson Fund.
Emily Hobson.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Sure.
I didn't realize there was money left in that fund. I thought it was all gone.
It's, where did that go?
$38,000. It's not gone.
Okay, I thought it had been gobbled up already.
Nope.
Great.
So that's the highlight reel, very long highlight reel.
Well, I know it's been a tough slog. You've been talking for quite a while, Gene, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, I have no water left, so
Why don't you go get
may
some?
turn into SpongeBob on the beach in a minute.
So, board members, do you have any other questions or comments you want to make this evening?
I mean, I think we had some good discussions.
What can we say to the library to assure them that we're really going to reinstate their funds?
I don't think we're there, Ed.
Yeah.
Well, when do we do that?
I think after we go through the Board of Ed budget, and so we have a complete picture, and then we can have a session. So that will be next week.
Thank you.
Anything else, Board of Finance, compadres?
No.
I'm totally saturated.
Yep.
Enough.
Are there any other comments from the public or our invited guests?
It looks
Nancy,
like Ed Matson has his hand up and Bonnie has her hand up.
Okay, Ed.
I'm sorry, but I was at work, so I was listening, but now I have video, I'm at home. As far as the discussions about the different items that Chris added into, I would have added along with him. The Board of Finance gave us a request to hold the budget line, and that's what we were doing. And I don't know if any of you saw what I read at the end of the meeting with the library the other day at our meeting. And I praise them for all the hard work they do. And Chris and I kind of left it up to the Board of Finance that if they were in favor of putting that fund back in, I don't think you'll find one Board of Selectmen member that was against it, but we were doing what was requested of us to hold the budget. And that's what we did. And we made some hard decisions, and we would not be upset by the Board of Finance overruling us at all, because I think you might see that we're not upset with something that's important, but staying with the long-term things, and I think that's what Chris has done a good job, looking at the long-term town budget. And if you looked at the book over 20 years, our budget has skyrocketed over 20 years. And that's why we initiated the capital plan to try to keep the town at a certain steady level. And that's why I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate what Chris and Jean do. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Bonnie, you want to talk?
Yeah, just want to thank you guys for all the work you do. And I won't bore you. We've already talked about this quite a bit tonight, but I just wanted to take like 2 or 3 minutes of your time and talk a little bit about emergency management, and like my role in it this past year, and the importance of it. Back in March of last year, we, had a global pandemic declared. And for the first time, Ken had a CERT team, Community Emergency Response Team. And that was formed at the end of March and the beginning of April. And as of today, we have 16 certified members. Our first project was a letter writing campaign to seniors, shut-ins, special needs folks in town, just touching base with them after, everybody was ordered to stay home, and, you had to wear masks and all this other stuff. That we started in April, middle of April. Around that same time, we started, the CERT team started a mask initiative where people in Kent signed up to receive homemade masks for everybody in their household once the governor issued the mandate that everybody had to wear a mask. This was done primarily through this software that Jean had spoken to about earlier, the VOC. People signed up and we were able to coordinate everything through that. So that was a really important part of that mask initiative. Lots of folks from the community, even though they weren't CERT members, assisted us in making hundreds of masks. We had 2 weekends, the end of April and beginning of May, where we distributed the masks. I don't have the total right in front of me of the number, but it was well over 500 masks that were handed out. And some of the CERT people even went beyond just being at the town hall and handing out the masks. There were folks that wanted masks, couldn't get there, so my guys went out and delivered them. In mid-May, the state donated thermometers and masks to businesses in Kent. CERT, again, helped distribute the masks and thermometers. CERT members assisted at the food bank over the summer. August, we had the tropical storm. CERT stood up, managed a charging water and food distribution site at the town hall. We were there every day from 11 to 6, from the 5th to, I believe, the 12th. Eventually it got hot and we needed a cooling station. So we moved over to the Kent School building over in the Kent Town Center. I think I figured CERT members donated about 300 man hours during that 1 week post tropical storm. We distributed approximately 2,500 bottles of water and 1,500 MREs to townspeople. Then we had a few months of downtime, nothing was happening. In mid-December, we got called up again to assist with the traffic at the COVID testing site. And we've been there every Monday from 2:30 to 7 o'clock since the 13th of December, with the exception of one snow day. And I think Jean mentioned earlier that we recently have partnered with New Milford's CERT team, and our guys are going down there to assist them with a vaccination site. So thank you for letting me talk about CERT, the importance. As you can see, we've done quite a bit just this past year. I know personally, David and Eric have spent hours and hours and hours and hours working on the program and building it. They've been a godsend to me for their wealth and knowledge, expertise. And I'm asking you to please consider that the budgeted amount of the 31,450, to please consider that, because the 4950 won't even cover our software. So like I said, I just wanted you guys to know how important this program is for the town and how much we've done the past year. It's been quiet the past few years, except for the ice jam in 17. But this year was crazy, and I still see a lot of need for emergency management in the future. So thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for all your work you guys are doing.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Bonnie.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Given that, I'll make the motion.
You got it, Jim.
I'll second.
There you go.
Thank you for all the time, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you, Jane.
for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Night, all.